Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome. Namaste. I am back today to share with you some readings that are reflections of the tarot card of the year readings I did at the end of last year. And the inspiration for revisiting these readings came through full moon energy that I received yesterday. And this was a very last minute decision to do this. It is an enormous undertaking on my part. So my process is to review the readings that I did at the end of last year and to then put those same cards on the table. And then I am looking at these readings through another lens, through 6 months later, and then I will also draw an additional card for you. So I strongly recommend that whether you are looking at this as your card of the year or you're looking at the card in terms of a zodiacal correspondence, that you have a look at what I said 6 months ago as well too. And that's all linked in the description box below. Okay? Donna, ready to go? Ready to go. Okay. I think I must be nuts doing this again, but here we are. A couple of years ago, I did this as well too. And one of the things I have said to tarot students along the way is how important it is to review your readings. And unless it's a year ahead reading, I wouldn't go back. So a year ahead reading, often I have done 12 cards plus a few oracles, seasonal oracles, and gone back and left blank pages and then made notes each month through the year. I've done that for sure, many times. But often I don't go back and I don't review my readings. And I have one that's on my table here from, I think, about a month ago. And it's just a 3-card reading, and I keep staring at it. And I drew the Hanged Man and the World card, which have this really interesting reflection in their leg position. And this is an example of a reading that it's still marinating. I'm not ready to put it away. And something just really compelled me to go back and look at these cards again. And so the next one is the Crone. And this is my card. You should know that there is a video, a couple of them on my channel, about how to calculate your tarot card of the year. And I have gone through 2 different systems of how to do this. And in the most common way of doing it, the Crone is my card for this year. The Crone would be the equivalent of the Hermit. And that is number 9. So you may also have a correspondence here to the Star, if the Star is your Star? No, Moon. Moon, if the Moon is your card as well too. Because Moon is 18 and 1 plus 8 is 9. Okay, so sometimes that will make sense as well too. Okay, I want to talk about some comments from the video last time, and that has to do with hermit. What is a hermit? And it's unfortunate, I think, that hermit is, or, what is that? Hermitage. And when I think of this card, I don't think of the lost soul hiding away because they don't want to connect with society. And maybe this has to do with my yogic background, but when I think of the hermit, I think of the like a sadhu who wanders from place to place, seeking spiritual wisdom, finding different ways to connect with the world, the planet, the earth, God, nature, so that they're kind of, yes, they're lost in their spiritual journey, and they probably will never come back. They're pretty ascetic in their practices. And yes, they may wander into a cave and stay there for an extended period of time and live with the scorpions and the the challenges of climate and so forth. But I think that is one very big extreme. In another way, I very much see the Hermit as one that is devoted to a period of time on a spiritual path, and there is definitely a sense of aloneness to this as well. However, in this card, pretty much in every deck that we look at, there's a lantern. In this card, we see a light that is here, a light that is shining. And light, so knowledge is the light of life, and the lantern represents light. It represents flame. It represents the soul. I think of this as the energy of Jupiter, in that Jupiter to me is the guru. Guru is the dispeller of darkness. So in a way, this card could also be seen as a guide, a spiritual guide, guiding you to the light, guiding you away from darkness. And isn't that funny that the Hermit wanders into the cave and lives in darkness? Or that could be one version of this. So I'd like you to take some time to expand your interpretation of what this card represents. 2W, Two of Wands, Major Arcanum, but reading makes me think I have 10 this year, so it is a wheel card or a magician or both. Yes. Let's look at this crone energy. Another, yes, hermits are so maligned in Western society. What's wrong with us? So they ask that we're not out partying, socializing, shopping. You know, we're often not comfortable in that frequency. And I think this too is one of the challenges of being a high priestess. That is an archetype that I connect with deeply. And that archetype has a hard time going to the parties because they just don't resonate with the frequency. Now, they may be able to function at a ecstatic dance at a spiritual circle, but that's different. So what spiritually a hermit is very different than what the Western definition of hermit is, you know? And then Laura goes on to say, solitude is healing until it turns to isolation. And there are great things that can be heard in isolation. My greatest connections with spirit have always been in isolation. And that is a place where I choose to wander alone. I spoke of the years, really, that I wandered the planet alone, and I would never have met the people that I met, encountered the experiences that I had experienced, had I been with a pack of young women or traveling with a boyfriend. It wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have awakened in the way that I did. So it's such a great frequency. Now, Margaret Peterson calls this card the crone. And there's something really beautiful about that interpretation, and that this is an evolved, it's a different phase of the maiden and the mother. If you think of the mother as the empress, and where the maiden fits in perhaps is in the Lover's card, and that's a whole other discussion. She can be seen in other places as well too. But this is a 9, and 9 is a highly sacred number. And if you are in a 9 year, yes, this is a year of completion. It is a year of sacred journeys. Very much so. I made myself a hot drink too. Okay. All of that being said, these were the cards that were drawn in December. And I want to start with the Kantaji Oracle. You are a multitude. And this deck was created during COVID. And actually, I should read to you, but I don't really want to take the time. This deck is an exploration of life during those times. And this particular card, after rereading what the creator wrote in the tome of a guidebook, I here am feeling part of the Krishna story, where the Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna, I don't know if Arjuna exactly looks into the mouth of Krishna, but Krishna allows Arjuna to see who he is. And up to this point of the story, Arjuna doesn't know that Krishna is God. And at this point, Krishna reveals himself. And it is absolutely terrifying. And perhaps overwhelming is a better word, what Arjuna experiences in realizing that what he thought was a wise human is actually God. And I think this is an experience or a common reaction when one has initial moments of awakening, that fear can creep in, fear can arise. Oh my God, what have I tapped into? Am I going crazy? Well, the short version here is, the short answer is no, you're not going crazy. You are beginning to awaken. And I would find a guide right now. Find somebody to help you. It's so much easier to do this with support, with somebody who has had support. You are a multitude. You are the stars. You are the trees. You are your mother. You are the little bugs in the garden. You are all of that. And we are all of that. God is within, God is without. And I think this connects so brilliantly, sorry, looking for my little stick, to this notion here of the light. This is a year of following the light, trusting the light, moving towards the light. And no, you're not going to die this year. You're going to walk bravely with support towards the light and allow the light to shift your frequency, because you're ready for it. You're here. And there's this chariot energy underneath. So you can look at the chariot energy as helping to move this journey forward. You can also look at the chariot energy as empowering the lunar frequency that is required here, the receptive qualities that are required here. And it's really cool that, this card, I imagine this temple, I'm sure I've seen something like it, maybe not a golden temple in Bali, maybe more like Rajasthan or something, but a temple on the side of a cliff. And I've been to several of them in Japan, where there is some serious hiking involved in order to get to the temple. And there's always something to carry up, right? So you're a tourist, you've got your camera and your bag, and what? I'm supposed to carry wood? I'm supposed to carry water? Well, that's part of the process. You got to carry water to the top of the temple so the monks can make you tea. So you can cleanse your hands at the altar. It's amazing. And there's nothing more beautiful than climbing to a temple. It really, I mean, this can happen in nature, this can happen within self, all of that, but these man-made beautiful creations that live on the top of exist on the top of mountains in remote places are just really amazing experiences. So yeah, now that is not the intention of the creator of this deck for this particular card, but it's something that I really feel with the connection of all of these cards. Now, this is the fourth of the ones we've done that I'm redoing. This is not a mistake. The Daughter of Cups is still here. She is still here exploring her fears and how the release of those fears has the potential to create freedom. She is still floating in the water on this journey towards enlightenment, living in the karma, living in the dharma, living in the DNA of the Mother of Cups. This is really cool stuff because right now where we are is in the final decan of the Mother of Cups. We're in Cancer season, and this is such a great time to reflect on all of this, to wander into your Hermit reflection. Now, Hermit is not a water card. Hermit is an earth card. It's connected to Virgo, all of that, ruled by Mercury. So what in the world does this have to do with water? Well, all of these elements are connected. They're all part of this. And I don't ever want to look at elements in isolation. I think the most important thing is to keep in mind the interactions of the cards. Okay. Also, I'm really taken by what looks to me like a full moon rise behind this temple, and then there's another moon phase over in the corner. There's just something really cool that's going on in this card. I also see some faces in this card. It's beautiful. I'm going to jump over here because I want to revisit what I said in December. Oh, no, I'm mixing up another reading. But I am. Let's jump over here. 5 of Feathers. 5 of Feathers. Here is Dancer of Fear. And we have another sort of awakening card that is here. Okay. Sorry, I was just thrown off because I had been reviewing another reading and it was stuck in my head, but that's okay. 5 of Feathers. So fives, if you want to think of High Priest, Hierophant, 5s as Mars, 5s as Journey, 5s as the Bridge. If you think of the Hierophant as the Pontiff, Pont, Bridge. We're at this place, right? We're in this place of unknown. Do we go forward? Do we go back? And this particular conflict, chaos of the 5 of Feathers begins to unravel us in a way. It begins to, it forces us to ask questions. Questions of morality, questions of heart. And let's not lose sight of the fact that air is the element of the heart. That is something that I think it's important to come back to and understand why there is hearts and blood and tremendous emotion in the suit of air. Yes, I would say the go-to meanings connect us to mind and voice, but there is much more to this. Okay, I need to regroup. I'm just going to read you 5 of Feathers aloud so that I can refocus on this reading. I was a little distracted thinking that I was jumping to another jumping to another card. And yes, Donna, you are correct. The Four of Flames, which is the fire card, showed up in many readings as well, too. Several readings. Okay. Fighting, this card, fighting in vain. Give up. If I do that, you might think one thing or another, because I know you might think one thing or another. I say something else to confuse you. This will be my triumph. To show you how to manipulate. No, I won't do it. I'm afraid it might be too obvious. I don't really want to fight or hurt anybody. She always thinks that. Always. Why always? I didn't mean it like that. Nobody should think I would. This is an internal conversation of the mind. And I think this is a card of conflict, internal conflict over power. Should I manipulate to win? Should I seduce to win? Should I put on a mask to win? Or lie? Or cheat? And the advice in this card is to surrender. To just let go and let life. It's honestly not worth the struggle. And I have a feeling that this card, 5 of Feathers, showing up in a crone year, in a hermit year, is one that it's asking us to get clear on the reasons for this spiritual journey, to get clear about the mind and heart connection. Are we following this path for the right reasons, and is it the right time for us to do all that we are doing? Are we doing it because we want to be just like the guru that we watch on YouTube? Or are we doing this as an escape? You know, I feel like this is a very important card here that's asking, why are you taking these steps? And I think the answer lies in the Tulku Oracle. And these are collage images. They're kind of hard to focus on and see unless you have the card in person. But there's a chakra mandala in the center of petals of a flower that is emerging from a parched ground. Reminds me a bit of a card in the Osho Zen Tarot. And the beauty and the light around the flower that is emerging through the adverse conditions shows tremendous power, tremendous internal power, tremendous stamina, resilience, strength. And depending on how you put the Fool's Journey together, you would have gone from a strength year to a crone year. Maybe not if you read Justice as 8. But I think that definitely works here. And the idea that the flower that emerges through the adverse environment it's so strong, it's so powerful and beautiful, and so deeply understands the power of all beings and all connections, and most definitely would not be overwhelmed by this card here. These two cards that are sitting in opposite corners of the reading really know each other well. And that is, if we are courageous enough to walk this spiritual path, there are going to be moments of realization where it all seems too much, and we might decide to check out into ayahuasca, into going back to our 9 to 5 in various ways. And with the 5 of feathers sitting there, what's pulling on me right now is come back to the heart, come back to the heart, come back to the heart. Remember that air is heart. And if we move from the heart, and I believe that the crone, for the most part, the hermit, moves from the heart and through the heart and guides us to the heart. Now the flame, the light, the flame that's in the lantern, depending on what you've studied and what your beliefs are, some people would say that that flame, that eternal, what's the expression? Jyotir. So eternal, it doesn't move. It's a still flame, lives in the heart space. And the Jyotir lives here. And so this is a journey, a soul journey of enlightenment into the heart. And yes, we will cross bridges of challenge, mental, physical, all along the way. And each time trusting in our strength and our inner tools and inner gifts that guide us through adverse conditions are what we need to trust in. Sahima, namaste. So I think looking at these cards or revisiting these cards again, I'm seeing some really potent connections here. The card from the Shaman's Oracle is the Dancer of Fear. And the water card is the Daughter of Water, who, and I shared this several readings back and read that whole page aloud, is the one who grew into or comes from a family where exploration of water is just the way one is. We learn to feel from a very young age. We learn to explore our emotions and express, and she knows that if she's courageous enough to explore her fears, that she will find some space and some light on the other side. The Dancer of Fear, so dancers in this deck are not connected to water, they are connected to solar plexus chakra. And so there is a sense of awakening solar plexus chakra that is connected to this particular card. Dancer of Fear. I teach you when to move forward and when to retreat. And I think this fits perfectly with the crone. You know, the journey of the hermit is one of, there's stops and there's starts along the way. I teach you how to consider dangers you may be facing and when to take risks. To master me is to become stronger, and yet I can undermine everything you do if I am allowed to. When I am with you, you may be afraid to move, but I also protect you from the kinds of risks that can bring you to places of greater terror. And so, unless we explore our fears, we can't understand the medicine of our fears. And I want to say that there's something kind of beautiful about what's happening, not only in the imagery of this card and this card above, but it's like we wouldn't have been able to emerge. The chakra mandala would not have been able to emerge through that parched ground if it didn't have the courage and the strength to do so. Okay. Now, 4. I want to sit with the 4 of Wands because it has the Margaret Peterson Tarot has lots of different interpretations that might not feel familiar to if you've only ever studied RWS. So I think it's important to look at the 4s as sacred space. The 4s are containers. They have a sense of safety and security. You know, everything is in this nice little box. And 4s in general, we feel safe there. And so it's kind of beautiful that we have this sacred space of fire above the daughter of water, who is not always feeling so safe. So it's a nice balance of energy for her exploration, to know that because fire is always going to help us move forward, and she can move into this container of sacred fire. However, Margaret Peterson goes to in another direction, and I just want to comment on that. She says, this is the fire of shaping. The unshaped purple fire of the earth's core touches the heavenly fire of the sun. The fires of body and mind work together and refine and strengthen each other. Forces of polarity structuring themselves in golden waves of light. And so there is this dance between different powerful forces that come to harmonize themselves. And yet, and I've read this a couple of times, and sometimes I read her words and I go, what? But I feel like unless you are courageous enough to fully express your fire, to let's say explore your fire, you don't know its limits. And part of this journey, and if you think of fire as one's life path, one's dharma, one's will, we need to explore its limits and then see what it feels like to contain it a little bit. And then from that container, we can grow again. There is a harmony. There's a harmonization that happens in this card between various powerful forces. And I think this is important along the way, along the path, especially when we're looking across the reading at a 5 of feathers, to learn to harmonize powerful forces. And through the harmonization, we don't want to suppress powerful forces. That's where our culture gets this all messed up. We need these powerful forces. We need the voices of children who ask why and challenge the paradigm and challenge the institution. And yet at the same time, respect certain limits in containers as spaces in which to integrate. Maybe that's what I want to say here. And maybe the temple as well, too, is a place of integration. The temple is a container for spirit where we can feel safe and heard and protected and listened to. It's why I go to the ashram, because There's a container for it's a container for deeply powerful spirit. And I know no matter what happens to me, whatever moves through me, I will be protected, and I'm safe, and I'm with wise ones who understand what it is that I'm going through. So there's something about this dance of, you explore, you go forward courageously and know where your guide is, know where your safe container is. I think this is also really important here. Father of Coins. I mean, you can interpret this card any way you want. And also, if there is something that I'm saying and you are looking at these cards and hearing something different, then you go with that. This is your reading for you who are journeying through a hermit year. Or if you want to look into like a year ahead reading for Virgo. Okay? So that's there for you. Thank you for these beautiful, beautiful comments, Perry. Fire is a protected state of grace in keeping the safe space of a sanctuary, of determining our own personal home in the wilderness, extremely basic requirements for survival. Yeah, these we need to know the fullness of these energies. If we dummy down life, we will never expand. And yet we can't always be outside of the container, because that's the place where we integrate. The way that Margaret Peterson writes about the Father of Coins is so very different from anything you would have ever heard before. And I just want to talk about this card a little bit and see if I can weave it into this story. Margaret talks about a separation from mother, and a sadness and a unwillingness to separate from the Creator, or the one who carried you. And I find this really bittersweet, this reading being reflected on in Cancer season, because it's such a powerful lesson and path of Cancer season is the journey and the birth wound and our relationship with divine feminine energy. And what she describes in the guidebook is that the Father of Coins' ability to create great architectural masterpieces is a response to separating, is a response to separation, as a response to the sadness of separation. It's like the Father of Coins wants to create the most magnificent of containers, of buildings, of structures, perhaps so that others know safety. That's not exactly what she says, but that's what I'm hearing as I try to integrate some of the words that she wrote. And then over time, he finds peace and harmony with his partner through a counterpart of divine feminine energy. And so the journey of the Father of Pentacles is one that reacts. There's a powerful drive. There's a powerful drive, that would be fire element of Kings, to not feel. If I do, I don't have to feel. Now, where would you fit all of that into this reading? And I think it comes from a fear of being alone, a fear of losing mother, a fear of disconnection from mother. And the Hermit is a journey into self. It's a journey towards home. And, you know, when I look at these two cards, there's something, you know, one is dark, one is bright. There's like these opposites here. And I've never thought, I mean, I love what she writes, but I've never thought about the Father of Coins as proving something or reacting. You know, I like to think of a Father of Coins like the one in Tarot of the Hidden Realm. You know, the grandpa with all the grandkids on the lap, and the dad that comes home from a busy day on the construction site and helps the partner make dinner, and I don't know, they go together and they walk the dog. And I've never thought of the Father of Coins in this way. And so through his journey in building, he rebuilds himself. And yes, as the king, he has do we ever truly master? He has mastered the earth element. He has mastered the experience. He has mastered the human experience. So yes, Donna, I agree with you in that way. Coins is a receptive suit. You know, it's on the yin side of things. And what I'm exploring here is just some words that I don't think I'd actually heard, even though I've read this little book so many times. Or maybe I at some point read it and I thought, oh wow, this doesn't make sense, so I'm just going to read this card in whatever way I want to read this card. And then I have some other notes here, and I'm wondering if this also is a card of brahmacharya. Brahmacharya, which is the practice of redirecting energy, not wasting energy. But that's a bit sort of beyond this discussion. And in her final paragraph, Margaret Peterson says, forgetting my origins and my roots, I turn vicious. However, remembering my connectedness, I use my abilities to serve my community. The woman I call my companion lifted the veil of my delusion. And so there's a lot more here, but I think we need to remember the light and the dark of each of these courts. And if anybody wants the full text from this, I could come back and type it into the comments, because I think it's, you know, this is the 78th card in the tarot. I've always viewed this card as one of deep integration. And so perhaps what she's sharing here is the journey of the Father of Coins to his place of integration, because her final sentence says that he does, in the end, he finds peace with that, from that separation. Now, I'm curious about why I am focusing on this, and looking at the time and realizing I'm supposed to be on the next reading. So I just want to conclude with this and say that I wonder if this journey of separation that the King of Coins felt as a young boy. Good night, Donna. I wonder if this journey of separation that the King of Coins felt as a young boy is mirrored in the journey of separation that the Hermit experiences, and you are choosing to experience in your Hermit year. So as you take off on your spiritual journey, there will be moments, and more than moments, of separation and questioning whether that truly is the path for you. But I think in reflecting on this reading as a whole, I would say that no matter how adverse the conditions are, know that you have the strength to persevere. And don't forget along the way to find sacred space and time of integration, to lean on your teachers in whatever form they take. And know that this is a powerful year of transmuting fear into a higher frequency. Okay. Take a deep breath. Bright blessings. I'll be back shortly with the next reflection. Namaste.